And now, I would like to invite the project manager of Dudu.com, Mr. Abdulrahman Zulmanov, to talk to us about their innovations with social networks and translation technologies. Please welcome, without further ado.
Morning. How are you? Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity for this speech and a small introduction to our insights on what's going on in the world of social networking in the region. My name is Abdulrahman Zulmanov. I'm project manager with Dudu.com. Dudu.com is a social network, but it's also a translation system that we developed ourselves, and we built it inside of the social network. So basically, the idea is to give a way for people that speak different languages to communicate with each other freely. Now, in my presentation, I'll try to draw on the reasons why it is necessary and what kind of opportunities this ability will open up for society. We launched the project on October of 2011, so a little more than a year now. And we were in test mode all of this time. We had to test the scalability, test the site, test all the functionalities of it, and also we had to collect a lot of textual data from the users to train our translation system. Now, in a couple of months, we'll be rolling out our beta release, which will have the all new functionality on the social network, which will have the first language pair with the translation system. And by the end of 2013, we plan to have some of the mostly spoken languages added to the system, and English, Russian, and Arabic being the first three, and then we'll follow up with the rest. So we were very, very lucky with so many people that supported our project, and to date we have almost 7 million users that use Dudu.com, although it's still an alpha version. While our work in the region, we saw a remarkable growth of people that use social networks in their daily lives. People use social networks at home, people use social networks at work, people use social networks at public places, and that means that people are constantly exchanging information. They're constantly connected to people online. So that's a great way for people to keep in touch with their friends, keep in touch with their families that live abroad. And we wanted to know how and why do people use social networks, what it is that they do on them. I won't go into too many details, but to give you a general picture of what was going on, we found out that more than 60% of all social network users use social networks to get in touch with their friends and family members. And almost 40% of people like to meet new people, make new friends online. And 32% out of all the respondents want to meet new people from different cultures, different countries, people that speak different languages than they do, and people that have something to share with them. And 16% of the users that use social networks do so because they want to investigate on a product or service that they want to buy or use, and so they discuss brands and they want to get some interaction with the company or a business that they want to buy a service or product from. We've also found out that the majority of the users, 54.5%, use social networks to keep in touch with their friends and family members that don't live in the same country as they do. So basically, more than half of the people that use social networks do so to get in touch with people in different countries. And the other half, 45.5%, connect with their friends and family within their home country. So we see that more and more people every day want to use social networks to reach out to people that live outside of their countries, that are exposed to different cultures and that are exposed to different languages. And this is why it's not surprised that an impressive 55% of people in the GCC are bilingual. And that's great. I'm from Russia, and in Russia only 7% of people speak any other language than Russian. So just to understand the comparison here. 20% of people speak 3 languages and 9% speak 4 languages. And that's terrific. That's terrific because today social networks go beyond the need to get in touch with the people that you already know. Today social networks help us to get closer to those who live in different countries, who represent different cultures. And why is that important? It's important because that helps us to obtain a different angle of view to a certain problem or task that we are involved in our daily lives. So because somebody shares a different experience because of the culture or the language that they speak, they may have something very important for us to help us grow, to help us develop as a person and as a professional. And we see that more and more people today want to do so, want to meet new people from different cultures that speak different languages. This is why it is important for us at Dudu to meet that market need, to provide a platform where people that speak different languages can communicate freely. Now, another thing that we found out is that 35% of respondents think and do use social networks for business purposes. And out of this 35%, 93%, basically almost all of them think and find social networks an effective way to grow their business. So, businesses use social networks globally, and this trend came to the region as well. How do they use the business? How do they use the social networks? They use social networks to find new partners. They use social networks to expand their market to other nations, and some of the people even use social networks for job hunting. So, excuse me. So we understand that when we create a social network, we need to provide a platform for these people as well. A platform where people and businesses would be able to conduct their businesses in a manner that would not affect their social activities and interaction with their friends and families, but at the same time to give them the functionality to promote their business, to showcase their products and services in an effective manner, to brand their pages so that they can address their target audience, and so on and so forth. But let's go back to the translation system. When we were working on our translation system, we understood that this has to be a translation system that would surpass any of those that exist today. And once we have a translation system integrated into a social network, that will open a whole new level of communication for people. Communication is essential. It's vital for people. This is why we have the cultural, the technological, the scientific progress. And over the years, communications were developing. We saw internet emerge, and with emails, video calls, instant messengers, communication between us became easier than ever. So today we can send messages and talk to people no matter the distance, no matter time of the day, the weather conditions. It's free. Although there is still the last barrier. The last barrier that Dudu Translate meant to overcome is the language barrier. The barrier that keeps us from communicating, although we may be standing a step away. Now let's look at the possible ways of implementation of our project like this. What kind of opportunities open up with overcoming this last barrier in communication? In education, first and foremost, in education, both in school and in our personal development, people and students will have access to so much more information. Masses of data will be available to students for their development, and people will be able to learn so much more new about life around us and about ourselves as well. In business, Like I mentioned before, companies, small and large, will be able to make their communications process more efficient, improve ways to find new partners, and of course expand to foreign markets, which is the primary goal there. And in government, especially here in the UAE, the multicultural heart of the Middle East, where the government constantly feels the need to communicate with visitors and with expats that live and work here and that speak all the different languages. Talking about languages, I just wanted to note one thing, that there are almost 7,000 languages and dialects in the world today. That's a lot of languages. And that means that eventually every one of us will face a language barrier. There's too many people speaking too many languages. But that's important because a language is a representation of our culture, is a representation of who we are. And it's important not to forget that. And it's important in this age of globalization not to lose our cultural identity. So in culture, language helps us, a translation system helps us preserve our language. And this is a goal that we also put in front of ourselves, to preserve the culture by preserving the language. Because language contains all of this information about us. And having a project where you can open up the whole world to yourself, but without having to forget your language, without having to forget where you came from, and share that experience with the rest of the world, we think that's terrific. Now, we had some great ideas on how do we preserve a language, and I would like to speak a bit more about that. The idea came to us when we first started to work on a translation system. The process is pretty simple. When you want to work with the language, you need to first describe it. You need to talk about, okay, how many parts of speech exist in this certain language. You need to describe its morphology, you need to describe its syntax, all the rules, the grammar, and so on and so forth. And you also need to describe the differences from other languages. Like, for example, in Russian and in English language, the category of number has singular and plural. So it's either one or many. But as many of you know, in Arabic there is the third category of number, the dual. And we had to document that as well. And we had to also correspond this notion of three numbers to other languages. The category of tens also varies from language to language. So, in other words, we had to create a digital documented explanation of a language, like a map of the language in digital form, so that we could later on work with it in terms of our translation system. And that's when we managed to create a very flexible and universal approach to describing a language. This was one of the most important jobs that we took on and that we were lucky to succeed in. So today we have a universal approach we also developed a very easy and very user-friendly interface for anyone basically to access it and describe a language, document the language, no matter how complex the language is, no matter what type of alphabet, be it Latin symbols or hieroglyphics. So that's when we developed this approach, we came up with the idea to open an open database, like a Wikipedia, but only for languages. Because we saw that there are so many organizations today that are engaged in this field. A lot of research centers, specialists, language labs, governmental organizations are busy studying language and documenting it for future generations to come. But the approach is not universal. And a lot of this important work is either not available online or is available but in a format that is not universal. So each organization, each country describes languages in different approach, by using a different approach. So I'll give you some more numbers here, just to make it clear why is it important to preserve the language. There are 7,000 languages and dialects in the world, but that's a lot less than we used to have. According to National Geographic's research, 12 languages die every year. That's a language every couple of weeks. And there are hundreds of endangered languages today. Hundreds of languages that are spoken by only 10 or 5 people. And some of these languages don't even have written form, which makes it even harder to document these languages. So today, we start a project that may help us overcome this problem as well. A database of languages in the UAE for the rest of the world. And we are very honored that we start the project here in the UAE, a country that succeeded in uniting so many different nations under its roof to providing the best conditions for work and development, and which was one of the reasons why we succeeded in so many things that we do. And looking at the country and inspiring by its success, we believe that we will succeed as well, and that we will provide a platform for people of the world to speak different languages, to come together, to work together in collaborative fashion on solving so many problems that the world today needs to solve. So these are some of the things that we're busy working on, and I thank you very much for your attention.